Welcome to Talking with Springfield Township. I'm here in the Waycross studio with newly appointed Springfield Township Chief of Police, Chris Niehaus. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
What we want to talk about in a minute is your FBI National Academy experience, because that's, I mean, how cool does that sound? We're going to talk about that. But before we do that, can we talk about your newly appointed? Can we talk a little bit about your career path to get you in this spot?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. So I began this year in my 25th year at Springfield Township. I started right out of the police academy in 1999. This was my first and only law enforcement job. And I've been extremely fortunate throughout my career here at Springfield Township to be exposed to a multitude of facets of law enforcement, beginning at the patrol level and learning those foundational skills and the importance of patrol and patrol operations and the impacts that has in the community. And then I quickly moved out of patrol into our vice unit, out of our vice unit into the county drug task force, the Drug Abuse Reduction Task Force, which is called DART. And I spent many years there doing narcotics investigations, conspiracy investigations, trafficking investigations, and those things. I came back to Springfield Township, was promoted to sergeant. I went through our impact unit, which our impact unit focused on neighborhood issues, violent crimes, neighborhood complaints, and those types of issues. After being promoted to sergeant, I went back into supervising the impact unit. I went back to the Drug Abuse Reduction Task Force as the commander for almost 4 years. And then I came back and I oversaw our criminal investigation section. It performs investigations in all of our serious matters, fraud, felonious assaults, homicides, those sorts of investigations. And then I was promoted to lieutenant in 2015. And when I was promoted to lieutenant, I did two things. I focused on patrol operations initially, so I was the patrol commander of the organization. After a few years, I switched and I became the administrative lieutenant, which oversaw criminal investigations, our accreditation process, training, and the rest of the administrative functions within the organization. And then in 2021, I was promoted to captain and oversaw both of those areas of focus within the police department.
So you've seen a lot of the history in Springfield Township. You're connected to what's been happening. Springfield Township's a little bit unique in its makeup and its structure. Is there anything you see in Springfield Township that's a little different from what you see when you're in other places?
Well, I think really the makeup of the township is probably the most significant, right? Springfield Township isn't one contiguous body. You know, it's made up of what we like to affectionately call as 12 different neighborhoods. Yeah. We find that not a whole lot of people identify themselves from being from Springfield Township. They identify themselves from being from Pleasant Run Farms or West College Hill or Glencoe or Hartwell or Lexington Heights. So it is a little bit of a challenge for us in law enforcement from that perspective and connecting with those different communities. You know, it's kind of funny. Sometimes we'll have somebody call the police department and they'll ask, is this the Finneytown Police Department?
And yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
But that's nice because it means you are aware that you are you're the pocket of Springfield Township, but you are in those neighborhoods. We think of ourselves in neighborhoods. So it is you're a neighborhood police department, but you're also big enough with all of this training and all of this background that you were just talking about. You've been in, sounds like, every department affiliated with the force in Springfield Township. And since we're talking about training, let's talk about what you just completed, because it was the FBI National Academy. How did that become available, and what did that look like?
Yeah, so thank you for asking about that. The FBI National Academy really kind of is that pinnacle educational component to my career. It is essentially the top 1% of law enforcement executives in the country.
Wow.
And it's extremely difficult to get into. You have to be nominated to get in and to be accepted. There's physical fitness requirements to being accepted. You have to have a minimum 60 credit hours of college to be able to be accepted. And quite honestly, there's some people that have been on the waiting list from my session for 8 to 9 years.
How many times do people apply before they find up getting it, or do you make one application and then just kind of wait until they let you in, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah, really good question. So it's one application,
Okay.
and then those applications are looked upon and assessed by each
Okay.
FBI field office.
Okay.
And a lot of it is out of need for the region, and then need for the organization as well.
Okay. So top 1%,
Yes,
and you got to go do this.
I got to, yes.
Where is it located?
So it's located in Quantico, Virginia. It's actually on the Quantico Marine Corps base,
Okay.
the FBI Training Academy and FBI laboratories. It's all contained inside the base.
And you mentioned we're looking at a brick here. It's on the desk if you're looking in this shot here. This is part of that site, and talk about what this means and how you got it and why you brought it back and if you were supposed to bring it back and all of those kinds of questions.
Yeah, really, really good question. So there's really three main components that the FBI National Academy focuses on.
Okay.
The first is academics. The second is fitness and wellness.
Okay.
And then the third is networking and really the experience sharing with those in your course with you. Of course, everybody goes to the National Academy hoping to leave with a yellow brick.
Okay.
The yellow brick is part of the physical fitness requirements. As we talked about, you have to compete and you have to time yourself before you get accepted at the National Academy. You have to be under a mile in 10 minutes. You have to maintain that under a mile in 10 minutes throughout your tenure at the academy, and then you have to test the week before you do the Yellow Brick Road to make sure you're under a 10-minute mile. But the Yellow Brick Road really is, at the heart of it, it's a 6.2 miles. It starts at the FBI Academy. You leave the FBI Academy, you go to the Marine Corps Basic School, where the Yellow Brick Road starts. And it's really the Marine Corps base's physical fitness obstacle course through the woods. So you're up and down the hills, climbing up and down ropes, up and down walls. You're running through muddy water. You're going over obstacles, under obstacles, through cargo nets. And then once you complete the obstacle course, it's another 3.2 mile run back to the FBI Academy where you complete.
If you're still not just flat out on the ground, now you have to run back.
Now you have to run back. Yes.
And I'm just gonna, it's Quantico Bay. We know that is not a place where you go if you're not planning to bring it, if you're not planning to work really hard physically, but you also talked about academically. Now, there's a lot of aspects there, but also physically you have put this, so this brick, not everyone who even makes the training is able to achieve the level to get that and bring it home.
Yeah, we had 5 out of our session that were not able to compete for the Yellow Brick at the end. But their physical fitness courses throughout the 10 weeks that you're there are really geared towards making sure that you are successful and participating in the Yellow Brick at the end of the session.
Okay, they want you to get it.
Yes, they want you and they drive and push you
Okay.
to achieve that at the end.
So it's 10 weeks long.
It's 10 weeks.
And you're there on site for the whole 10 weeks. You don't hear from anyone. You're just there doing this.
Yeah,
training.
you live on base. You
Okay.
live in the FBI dorms at their academy for 10 weeks.
So what kind of things do you feel more prepared for now because of this training?
Well, there's a lot.
Besides yellow brick roads, which
Of
could
course.
come up at any moment.
You never know.
Do not know, but yes, besides that.
Yeah, so I think really the academic courses are second to none, right? They're taught by individuals with not only the knowledge but experience. But it's really, the value really comes from those information and conversations that occur in class. You're in class with 197 people from all across the world, 25 international students, and you share experiences, personal experiences, professional experiences. You can hear what's going on in one part of the country or one part of the world and relate to what's going on in our region or in Springfield Township specifically. I know there was many conversations that occurred with individuals from California and what they're experiencing in the organization. And I was able to contribute to that conversation and say, well, we experienced that 10 years ago, and here's how we managed that. And then, for instance, we would hear one individual from my class from Idaho saying, well, here's what we're experiencing, both internally and externally with the organization. And I can say, we have never experienced that, and we've never seen that, but I know now to be more vigilant, to watch for those things, to be able to recognize trends and patterns earlier that I normally wouldn't, or we normally wouldn't have known to look for.
Which is a really interesting thing to hear about, because you've talked about 25 years of experience in the Springfield Township area, which is fantastic, but also very regional specific. So you can only say, I know a lot about the sorts of things that we have had up till now.
Yes.
But now you also get that chance to interact with people that have experienced a whole range of different things. But also you got to share Springfield Township experiences.
Yes.
Outside of the region. I feel like that in itself, I know there was coursework that you were learning. Yes. There was an actual curriculum that you were learning. Do you feel that the kinds of things that you did during that 10 weeks that you learned, the topics that you discovered, were there any things that really surprised you after 25 years of experience?
No, I don't think nothing that really surprised me. I think, like I indicated, there were things that opened my eyes to things that are going on across the country that we just haven't experienced here in this region. And not only when we experience it, but learn how to manage those trends and patterns when they occur. But quite honestly, it's the networking. Being in a class with 197, now our class average were about 40 or so per class. But out of 197 people in our session, make lifelong friends, and people that we can pick up the phone and call or text and say, hey, this is what we're experiencing now. Or does anybody have a policy on this? This is something that we're looking to start. And somebody's always there to answer.
So it's 10 weeks of classes, but also that leads to long-term resources and connections that you can lean on. You can all work together. You've all done this together.
Yes.
You've all been on the yellow brick road together. I will keep coming back to that because this is fantastic. What do you see changing in the way that the department has to understand things now versus when you started in the Springfield Township Department?
Yeah, so I think the biggest change for us and for law enforcement in general is the use of technology, right? And maximizing our effectiveness by utilizing technology. Part of that is what we've already started with our license plate reader system, with the technology available for criminal investigations, the forensic investigations, and the forensic components using technology to enhance our investigations. I think, especially now with the world that we're in, where it's extremely difficult to get good candidates through the door, we need to find a way in law enforcement to be able to continue to be effective with less.
That kind of leads me to one of the questions is, are there ways that the residents can be supportive of the police department?
Yeah, well, I think I will start by saying our residents and our community is extremely supportive of our police department. That's one thing that we're extremely thankful for. We have a tremendous amount of support, and we've seen that. We've seen that last year when we dealt with the death of Officer Unwin and how the community came together for our organization in ways that we would have never thought before. But I think for our officers and our staff, just knowing that support is there from the community, it makes our job easier, and it makes it easier for our officers to come to work each day knowing that support is there.
As you look forward now in your leadership role, do you have specific goals you'd like to see going forward in the department?
Yeah, so I think first, the first goal and the first priority for the organization is achieving our staffing again. Replacing some of the vacancies that we've had through attritions and retirements and officers changing professions. So that is the first priority. I think then the second priority is continuing to work and enhance our community engagement with the community by participating in programs and developing programs and initiatives to be able to connect with our community.
Are there any particular, I know you have programs in place too in the community now and
We
things
do.
you're doing in the Finneytown schools. Are there any particular programs that you're seeing, that you have seen happening, that you want to say also, as we look forward to other programs, let's talk about, but this stuff is happening and it's great.
Sure. You know, so one program that we've had a tremendous amount of success with that we do in the summertime is called our STAY program. It's a Springfield Township Empowering Youth program. And we bring, and historically all it's been females, juvenile females, and we bring them in and for a week they're taught life skills. They're taught sewing and electrical work and some vehicle maintenance and car maintenance and banking and financial awareness and those types of things. And it's been extremely successful. That's a program that we want to continue to build upon, and we're also looking to be able to do that for juvenile males as well. We saw the success that we had with the female program, and we think we can have just as much success doing it with the males as well.
And when I first found out what some of those classes were, I wanted to sign up for them. I'm thinking I also need these things, but
Sure.
really the mentorship that the officers that are paired with their students at Finneytown, I think, right?
Yes.
And what they get out of it, they get skills, but they really get that mentorship opportunity, which is more important even than the skills.
They do, which is very interesting. With that program, it starts out with day one with our female officers in uniform, and then as soon as the program starts, the officers change, and they change into normal clothes. And they stay in normal clothing the rest of the week as the program goes on. And it is that mentoring, it's that connection and getting to understand the officers without the uniform on. And you get more of that personal connection.
Is there anything else you want to make sure that residents know about? Before we wrap up, I know there's a lot we can talk about, and I feel like we're going to need some future programs to talk about specific programs. But also, as you create new ones, I'll take a moment to say, do you think Springfield Township needs a yellow brick road of its own to practice on? How many of our residents do you think are ready for this? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
A small percent, probably.
It is a challenge. It certainly is a challenge. I think at graduation, the FBI director really summed it up the best, that the yellow brick road is a challenge. But once you graduate and you achieve the yellow brick, the challenge doesn't stop there. The challenge is for you to continue to enhance the profession, to enhance that networking and continue to enhance law enforcement across the country is really what that challenge is.
And it was an amazing achievement. I'm playing with this and I shouldn't be, but this is an amazing achievement in itself, but that is a really great perspective that yes, you overcame hurdles to get that brick, but this is just the beginning of whatever hurdles it takes to continue to move forward and enhance the whole organization. And I appreciate your time coming in to talk about this.
Thank you.
I hope that some people see it and are challenged to say, I want to be part of how we make this profession better. And if people do have questions about any of this, how would they contact?
Please, they can call the police department. They can reach out to us on our website. They can certainly email us or email me. Our doors are always open and our phones are always on.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we get this chance to introduce you to the community. I know you took the reins a little while ago, but we hadn't had a chance to talk to you yet because of this training. And I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of great things happen in the community as you go forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching Talking with Springfield Township. That means you want to be informed about what is going on in the neighborhoods where you live, and we'll see you next time.